The Halloween movie franchise is probably one of the most enduring horror movie series of our time. The 13th movie, called Halloween Ends, was released just last week. There is speculation that the latest movie heralds the end of the franchise for good, and if that's the case, we still have a lot of questions that need to be answered. Let's take a look at some of Halloween Ends' biggest unanswered questions and mysteries. First up, is it the end of Michael Myers' reign of terror? Spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, we see Laurie Strode overpower the Shape and finally kill him. She Michael over and over again in a fit of rage. And we don't blame her. That man has been terrorizing her for decades, so it's about time she got her revenge. But that's not enough. She takes his body to the Haddonfield junkyard and throws it into a crusher, and we see it gets violently mangled. So he's definitely dead and won't be coming back to haunt us next Halloween, right? Well, not necessarily. Michael's come back from the dead before, which may indicate that he's actually immortal. But here's the thing. The 2018 trilogy hasn't indicated any kind of supernatural element about the villain, which could mean that this was the last goodbye. But here's the thing, while the real Michael Myers might actually be dead and gone, his legacy isn't. The movie was about a copycat killer after all. Perhaps a new masked killer will take on his mantle and continue to give us more Halloween movies. Moving on, why was the supervillain living in the sewers? We actually think we have this one figured out. Hear us out here. We see in the movie that the knife murderer has been living in Haddonfield sewers for the last 4 years. We never see a specific location, but we know he's in the general area. After the events of the last movie, Halloween Kills, the Myers home gets demolished, but that doesn't run him out of town. It is his playground after all. Instead, he goes into hiding, right there in the town he's been terrorizing. We assume that he never gave up on killing Laurie and decided to just hang around the town until the time was just right for him to zoom in on his victim. Of course, he still kills every now and then as a way of recharging himself, but he's quite the local celebrity. Everyone is familiar with his modus operandi, and he wanted to maintain a low profile. To avoid being discovered, he picks an open sewer as his humble abode. Whether that was his original plan is never really revealed in the movie, but he does use Corey's murdering spree as an excuse to go after Laurie. We can safely assume that Myers is heavily motivated by revenge. Let's also look at whether Corey Cunningham was always a bad guy, or did Myers make him like that? Because one serial murdering super bad guy wasn't enough for the town of Haddonfield, we have another one. Halloween Ends follows the development of another killer called Corey Cunningham. It traces his journey from a regular guy to an evil serial killer. Some characters in the film even say that there might be a supernatural element to Corey's crimes. Laurie even thinks that he has Michael's eyes, but it is probably more likely that Corey became the violent person who he is all on his own. To be honest, he started out much like many real-life serial killers. After all, his first murder was an accident. The film follows the themes of the previous movie, Halloween Kills, where it's actually the town of Haddonfield that actually pushes Corey into this really dark place in his mind. The people of the town keep harassing him by calling him a child murderer, and it's sort of turned into a self-fulfilling prophecy. And while Michael Myers is pretty bad, he really isn't the one responsible for making Corey a killer. It was the town of Haddonfield. So it's like this sinister town is creating killer after killer. Not to mention, where exactly is Laurie's granddaughter going? Did we tell you that serial killer Corey was also dating Laurie Strode's granddaughter Allison? Well, he is. A regular guy by day, a killer by night. And while she doesn't see it, Laurie definitely sees it. She even tries to warn her grandchild about Corey, but Allison won't have any of it, and the two of them have a bit of a falling out. Luckily for Allison, she does eventually figure it out, and she decides to leave town for good at the end of the movie. We just see her driving past the city limit sign, and there's no indication of where she's going, but maybe that detail isn't even that important. One possibility is that she's going to further her medical career, but then again, we can't say for sure. But we do know exactly why she's leaving. The town hasn't exactly been kind to her. She's lost both her parents, 2 of her boyfriends, and many friends, all killed in Haddonfield, so clearly it has inflicted a lot of trauma on her. While her grandmother Laurie stays on because she can't let go of the past, her granddaughter has a very different take on the situation. She's skipping town to start over, safe from the killers about town. Coming up, will Frank and Laurie get together? Could this movie finally give Laurie the happy ending she deserves? Throughout the trilogy, she's been developing a relationship with police officer Frank Hawkins. He's the one who responded to the original Michael Myers murders back in 1978, so things seem to be coming full circle in the 13th and possibly the last installment of the franchise. Their relationship is constantly interrupted by Michael Myers, who prevents Laurie from being able to settle down and find love, but the two do spend a significant portion of Halloween Kills together. They even share a hospital room, and it seems that Halloween Ends has finally given the two the happy ending they could do with. The closing scene of Halloween Ends features shots of Laurie's house. There's also a shot of Laurie and Frank sitting on her front porch. It's kind of like a happier version of the original Halloween film's ending. The ending of the movie does seem to hint that the two will finally end up together. To be fair, the relationship has been teased since the beginning of the reboot trilogy. Let's consider whether the town of Haddonfield recovers from the terror. Honestly, how does any town recover from history like that? Even if we just just go by the movie release dates. 1978 to the present day is a long time to be terrorized by a psychotic serial killer, but really, it starts in 1963 when the 6-year-old Michael Myers stabs his sister to death. He ends up being locked away for the next 15 years and eventually becomes the chef's knife-wielding killer we have come to know. As Halloween Ends starts, the town is more or less completely broken. The legacy of one Michael Myers has created some real problems in the town. It has caused rampant distrust, different kinds of crimes, and even suicide. But the death of Michael Myers might finally be giving the town the closure it needed. It was kind of poetic justice, as most of the town's residents showed up to see his body get shredded up at the junkyard. Many people also blamed Laurie for Michael's return, but we think she may have redeemed herself by killing the Shape once and for all. And it really does seem like there will be a happily ever after for Haddonfield. Lastly, will there be yet another Halloween movie? Maybe the real question is, do we want to see another Halloween movie? If the business done by this last installment is any indication, then the answer is yes. The movie is topping box office collections in the US and UK, but then again, it is a spooky season and the ride may not last much longer. But if we were to take a literal approach to things, then this is it for the series. It's probably called Halloween Ends for a reason, and the marketing suggests the same. But for a series that's had so many sequels, we can never really say for sure that it's game over for the series. The nature of the genre is also an important consideration. It's a horror movie. Maybe shredding wasn't enough for the Shape. He could be back in another form. Maybe there will be another Corey Cunningham who will keep his legacy alive. And there's always the possibility of reboots, spin-offs, and sequels. In fact, the latest trilogy is the second reboot. Rob Zombie made 2 Halloween movies as well in the late 2000s, and like we said earlier, if the business makes sense, then we just might see more Halloween movies. Whether that happens or not, one thing is for certain, the Shape is definitely one of the most popular Halloween costumes every year. That's a wrap for this video. Which part of Halloween Ends has got you thinking? What question would you like answered the most? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.